Hello everyone. So in the previous classes, we have seen what are the different types of data that a Python can have, whether it's integer, float, or string. And we have also seen one of the data structure in which you can store a group of data together, and that was list. This particular session is focused on another type of data structure, which is called as dictionary. So let's get started. We shall try to understand what a dictionary is in Python. Before I tell you about dictionary, let's see uh, what have we learned so far. Let's quickly revise. So if you create a variable, something called as name, this is nothing but it's acting like a container which can store some kind of data in it. I shall store here Sachin. So Sachin is type of a string data which is getting stored in the name. So this is an instruction to Python. If I run this, let me try to print it here. So you shall see that whatever is stored in name, that is getting fetched and it's getting printed, right? In the same way, I can store multiple contents in different variables. Should be naming the variables very meaningfully. So if I'm storing age as 25 and I'm storing school ID as this. So this is one style of storing the data. This happens to be your string, integer, and integer. And if I want to store the same content in a form of a list, then I shall create a list. Let me create a list by the name student details. Mind you, the list is started with a square bracket and is ended with a square bracket, and I can store the content in it. Right? So if I try to print this, the only difference between me storing the data in the previous format was I was storing the individual contents in individual variables. However, in the second approach or in the second style, I stored all the contents together, but in a list. The list variable I have named as student details. Just like how I am storing here, and of course, I can always access the individual contents of the list by positions. So I can always put a square brackets very next to the variable name, and if I put 0, then the zeroth index shall be fetched and printed for me. If I put first, then this first position has been fetched and printed for me. If I go in the reverse direction, then I shall use the negative indexing or the negative positioning, and you will see that it has started from the backwards, right? So just like list, we have another data structure which we are going to cover in detail in this particular session, and that is called as dictionary. Okay, so let's try to learn how a dictionary is different from the list and the other type of data structure, how to create a dictionary, how to store contents in it, the dictionary, how to access the data in the dictionary, how to edit the data and the relevant functions that you can use with the dictionary. So let's set up the agenda for ourselves. We start with knowing what is a dictionary. Second, we shall be covering how to create a dictionary. Third, we shall be covering how to access the dictionary in part and in full. Okay, that means how do I access the contents of a dictionary completely in a single go, or how do I access uh, individual elements, or how do I access partially. The next will be how to edit the contents within a dictionary, and the last one shall be common functions slash methods associated with dictionary, right? So this is something that we are going to be learning in this. Now let's first see what a dictionary is. So basically, just like you create a list variable same way you're supposed to create a dictionary variable, I shall create a variable by the same name. Now remember that the list, Python identifies that it is a list because you put a square bracket there. However, if it were to be a dictionary, you're supposed to put curly brackets. So curly brackets define a dictionary. And how do you store data in it? Just like your list is a series or a sequence kind of data, the data is stored next to each other, separated by comma in a single sequence. In dictionary, we store data as a pair of key and values. So if it was a list, if I'm maintaining my data, something like this, A, B, C, D. But in dictionary, I shall be maintaining my data in something like this. So, okay, let me store it here, show it here. So I shall create a key called as name, connect it to a corresponding value, something like this. So this, what has this become? Let me arrange it better so that you understand how the dictionary looks exactly. So this is a key value pair. My key happens to be name and its corresponding data is Aditya. I put comma here and the next shall be age. I write 25 here. Again comma, school ID. Right. So if you observe here, it's the same data that I'm storing. A name, an age, a school ID. However, this time I have connected that to the unique keys here, right? So this is the difference between the list and the dictionary. That first, dictionary is defined by the curly brackets. Second, the data in a dictionary is stored as a key value pair. The first one is your key and the corresponding value is mapped to it. So what is the advantage of using dictionary over list is, if your list is storing say 10,000 elements or 1 million elements or 5 million elements, it takes time to iterate or go across each element one by one. So if you try to access uh, if your list is storing 2 millions of elements and you want to store access the uh, maybe second million or somewhere in between, then it takes time for Python to uh, walk onto each elements and access the data for you. However, in dictionary, you don't have positions. You don't have position named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that Python has to walk across. You have unique keys to which the value are mapped. So if I try to print here, let me run this. If I try to print here student details, you shall see that the complete dictionary is rendered to me. It's printed for me. And you can see that it's a key value pair here, comma, it's another key value pair here, comma, another key value pair here, right? Remember, it is not necessary that the key shall always be string. You can also have a integer kind of key. So I can write here maybe some code 1010, and this I can name here the student is award of minister. Yep. So this is some kind of a detail associated with the student. But how do we access this content here? So if I write here the full variable name, the whole dictionary shall be printed for you. However, if you want to access the dictionary in part, just like in a list, you would put a square bracket very next to the variable and you would write some position here. In a dictionary, we write keys. So in a list, for each element, if the underlying uh, identification is the corresponding positions, whether it's the positive positions from the left to right direction and the negative positions from the right to left direction. In a dictionary, it is the key here. So I wrote print student details, and the square brackets means I'm trying to access something partially. And in that, if I'm writing the name, that means I'm trying to access the value that is associated with the name key. So if I print this, you shall see that it's giving me Aditya, right? So this is how uh, we have covered what is dictionary. So a dictionary is nothing but it's one of the data structure or one of the styles or formats in which you are going to store your data. And the data we store is stored in a mannerism of key value pairs. All the key value pairs are separated by comma. A dictionary is started and ended with a curly brackets. If you have to access complete dictionary, you shall write the complete name of variable. However, if you have to access an individual key in the dictionary, you're going to access by that corresponding key here. Got it? Now let's see how to create a dictionary. Of course, obviously you've just seen if I'm creating a dictionary, I should be writing like this. So this creates an empty dictionary for me. Empty dictionary is created. All right. And there is another way to create a dictionary, and that is empty dictionary, that is called as just call the dict function, right? So just like you have a print function to print something on the screen, just like you have input function to fetch the input from the user through its keyboard, same way you have a dict function. The way I wrote this is going to give you back an empty dictionary, okay, and that is getting stored here. So if you want to print, so let me name it differently. Yep. So if I try to print here data1, and then if I print here data2, you see empty dictionary has been created. However, the same dictionary, if I want to have it filled, then I should be giving some data here, something like this. And after this, if I try to print it here, you shall see that a data shall be fetched for you like this, right? Now again, when it comes to updating the dictionary, so if I'm writing the same variable here, and if I'm writing here maybe uh, Pranav is 25 years of age and he is in Saint Joseph. Yep. Well, what is happening here is, what is this instruction means to Python? Look carefully. This instruction says that whatever is on the right side should be assigned to the left side storage. So this is a assignment operator in between the equal sign. However, right side is my string data and I am pointing towards the complete storage. This storage or this variable is point whichever location it is pointing. Earlier a dictionary was stored. Now if you are assigning this directly to that storage, what happens is the complete memory or the complete storage will be wiped off, and instead of a dictionary, this particular string shall be stored there. Okay, so if I try to print here student details, you will see that dictionary is no more there. Instead of a dictionary, there is a string existing, right? So this is not a right way to ever update your storage, because you are this kind of instruction, what it does is it ended up replacing or wiping off the whole previously stored content, and the new content is directly overwritten as it is. Okay, but if you really wanted to uh, update any specific value, for example I wanted to update name here, so what I will do here is I will point to that storage only. I will not point to the complete storage. Now here if I write Sachin, you will see that this instruction says whatever is on the right side. So Sachin shall be assigned to the left side storage or left side variable. So this variable name is pointing towards what? It's pointing towards the dictionary, and in the dictionary I am pointing towards the name, right? So just like how we accessed our dictionary partially, same way I am going to access it here in a partially, and I'm going to give the instruction that Sachin has to be stored there. Now if I try to print it here, you will see that okay, I think I should be running this again. Yep, yeah. So it was my mistake that I did not run this again. Yeah. So you will see that this has been updated, right? In a similar way, right now the age is 25, isn't it? If I update age here, please note that you should give the same key as it is present here. Okay. So in the age, if I write here instead of 25, if I write here 50 and I run it again, you shall see that 50 is being updated, right? In the same way, now let me try to access another key, which is what? 1010. So this might look like as if I'm trying to access a list with some position, but no. It may look like that, it may give you a wrong perception, but no, it is a key, because you can see here when I created a dictionary here, there was a key which is integer in itself. So if I try to print this, you will see that the corresponding location is accessed for you and it is being printed. Look at this. Make sense? Yeah. One more thing you should remember is, if I'm creating some dictionary, for example, data, or maybe I can write favorite colors. Okay. So let me write that Aditya's favorite colors is blue. Remember that the key value pair should be connected by colon. Okay. And I write Ankita's favorite color is yellow. Remember that key and value, if they are string, then you should enclose them within quotes, because string has to be enclosed within quotes, right? If it is Dheeraj, then I'll write red. If it's Anil, I'm gonna write white. So let me try to run this and print. Yep, you can see here that a dictionary is printed, right? Now, suppose I want to update something which doesn't exist. So if I try to update here, uh, say Pallavi. Now the Pallavi key is not existing, right? Correct. If I try to print this, of course the error shall be given, because I am trying to access some key, some value which is associated with Pallavi from favorite colors, but a key never exists in Pallavi, right? So this shall give you an error. You can see that it's a key error. So you should be always mindful that whenever you try to access a dictionary partially, you should always write only that key which is already existing, something like this. But when you're trying to update it, you can always write the key which is already existing, something like this, Dheeraj equals to black. And if I try to print favorite colors, so if I'm trying to update a key which is already existing, then a new value shall be updated into that existing key. You can see here. However, if I write a key which is not existing, something like this, then what happens is that key shall be created for you like this. You can see that at the end, a new key has been created, right? So this is the example that I showed you. This is how you store your data. So, of course, if you are dealing with a data in Python, your data is always going to be either integer or float or string, and you need to store that data. You know, if it's a collection of a data, or you want to keep your data together, you have to store it either in list or in dictionary as per your convenience. Going forward, you will understand whether to use list or whether to use dictionary, because these are just the different methodologies and style to maintain your data, and which one to use, which one is convenient. uh, it will be your call, which you will know intuitively as we go forward, and you have a better hands on how to deal with this. So to summarize, this is how you create a dictionary. If you have to access the full dictionary at a single go, you can just access it by a same variable name. If you have to access it partially, and partially, whether it's a list or dictionary, you should always access it using the square brackets. If it was a list, you would have written a position in between the square brackets. Since it's a dictionary, you are writing key here, and by this you can read a specific data by this amount of syntax, and in the same way you can update also. Okay, so this is how you deal with the dictionary. Now going about what are the common methods which are associated with a dictionary. When we talk about the dictionary functions or dictionary methods, I am referring to certain functions which are associated with that kind of data type. For example, when we were dealing with lists, you would have seen that I created a list something like this. 10, 20, 30, 40. And in this list, if I'm writing scores dot append, say I'm writing 50, okay? And thereafter, if I try to access what is the current state of scores, you will see that a 50 has been appended, right? In the same way, if I'm trying to if I try to call this function twice, first time I'm appending 50, second time I'm appending 60, and I try to run, you will see that one by one, both the contents have been appended here, right? Just like append, we dealt with quite a few methods or functions that are exclusively associated with list. Something like with list, we would have seen that we dealt with something called as dot append, dot insert, dot remove, etc. Right? In the same way, when we were dealing with string type of data, you would have seen that I used dot replace, dot split, dot strip, etc. to do different kind of tasks or different kind of operations over that kind of data type I'm dealing. So this was for list, this was for string. In a similar context, when it comes to dictionary, uh, we have a different type of methods and functions available with us at our disposal to operate on the data uh, which we are holding as a dictionary, something like this. Say, for example, if I create a data type of a dictionary, a phone book, okay, and this is my dictionary wherein I'm storing, say, Aditya. This is a key whose number is, okay, this is one. Second is Rohit, whose number is, and same way if it's Arun, the number associated is something like this. Obviously, you know that if you try to print this, the complete dictionary will be rendered to you. The whole data is rendered to you. If you access it by specific key, you will get the corresponding value associated with it like this. However, what if you want to completely erase it out? This whole variable or this whole storage, if you want to completely erase it out, you can use the associated function called as clear. Now this clear is also available to you in list, so it's a common method. Once I clear it out, and then if I try to print or try to see what is there in phone book, you will see that it's empty, right? So complete data is erased for you. Got it? Okay. Let me not use this. That was one example. There is another method called as, say, if I want to get the names, then I will use dot keys. So dot keys, this is going to give me all the keys that are associated here. So you can see Aditya, Rohit, and Arun. Everything will be given to me. So if I try to print here, you will see that Aditya, Rohit, and Arun, all the keys are being given. Uh, it's in different format. If you really want to have it in a list format, I can always convert it into list. So pushing it into any functions like list will convert it into that type of data. You can see that Aditya, Rohit, and Arun, right? In the same way, suppose I want to extract the numbers. I can write here values. So values extracts or it gives you the complete corresponding values here. Something like this. Got it? And if you ask for items, you will get everything in pair. Now it's a list of tuples. Tuples is something we'll be learning in the next class. What is tuple? But you can see that overall it's a list and you're getting it in tuples, right? So as we go forward, you will learn more about how to utilize these in the real life examples, in the actual real time examples, how to use keys, how to use dot values, right? And other simple one, if you want to see, of course, you can, like I said, of course, you can fetch any specific data just by its specific key, something like this. Oh, I think I made a mistake here, the name. Oh, it's the phone book. Yep. Of course, I can access any corresponding value associated with a key like this, but there is another method that you have called as get, dot get, and if within the dot get, if you push any key, you will get the corresponding value. something like this. Got it? And one more method if you were to discuss, that is called as pop. So if I write phonebook.pop, what happens is what happens is something will be popped off. So if you see here, if I give key here Arun, what will happen is Arun shall be popped off. So you can see here that the dictionary is updated in the pop function. When I passed this kind of key, that key and value correspondingly have been removed here. Got it? In a similar way, if I do pop for another one, say Rohit, then Rohit shall also be removed. Got it? So these are few uh, functions or methods that are associated with dictionary that will be of your use. You can remember them as clear and pop, insert keys, etc. Right? So as a assignment, you can take up to create any data structure, whether to store your student details or say if you're creating a variable which is going to store the book names and their authors correspondingly. You want to store the book names and their publishing year. You can create yourself any meaningful variables, something like book data, okay, and then create a dictionary for yourself, create corresponding keys and values, create multiple keys, multiple values, and try to access them one by one, so to get a better hands-on this. One last thing to learn in this dictionary is, remember that the dictionary here, let me take this example. If I'm creating this dictionary, remember the keys that you're creating here, of course, they will be either string or integer. Okay, but the values can be string, they can be integer, or they themselves can be some list. Okay, what if I want to store the student details, something like the marks scored by student details. Now marks is something that cannot be just one mark. It's going to be multiple marks, 54, 86, 85, stored in different subjects, right? So for that, let me create another key called as marks code. And remember, when I want to store multiple values, just like we learned in the previous class that multiple contents or a group of content is stored in a list, same way here, you can give a list as values. Okay, so I can say here he scored 50, he scored 80, he scored 90, he scored 85, 75, etc. So a group of content I am storing here, which is associated with a key marks code. And of course, all the key values are separated by comma here, right? Now, if I run this, you will see that marks code is key. Got it? It's key and value pair. The value is list. So how do we access the marks code now? At the first stage, we are going to write the same key and I'm going to get the list. Now remember, this amount of syntax, just the student details takes you to the whole storage. Now what is the whole storage? The whole storage is the dictionary. Further to it, you're accessing it in very specific manner. So that's why you have given here the square brackets and you wrote the key. So you are saying that in the student details, so in this, you're trying to access this content, marks code. Now, as we know that this can further be uh, accessed, this can further be, we can get deeper into it and we can access specifically the 50, we can access the specifically the last element. So how do we do that? Since we know that this amount of syntax is taking us to list, and to access the list partially, we can put another level of square brackets and we can say 0. So this is giving me all the marks, and within the marks, this further square brackets tells me that I need to access the 0th element. So here I'll get 50. In the same way, I can write here -1. Got it? So this is how it is. And not just, so this is called as nested list, a list within a dictionary. Okay. And just like you have a list within a dictionary, you can have a dictionary within a dictionary. Okay, so what do you mean by dictionary within a dictionary? So let me create here parents details. So I, how do we create a dictionary? So I create another level of square bracket. So I can write here fn. Fn means father's name, and I'll write here, say Colonel Ashutosh. Okay, and if I write here mn, mn means mother's name. I'm writing in a very short form here, and I write here Dr. Avantika. Okay, yep. So you can see here in this key, I am storing my content in a form of a list. In this particular key, I stored my content, which happened to be just an integer, so I stored as it is. But this parent details, I stored in a more structured way. I created another dictionary. So this key will take me to another specific storage location, that is dictionary. So if I have to, so if I just access student details, I'll get the whole dictionary, like you can see. Further deep down, if I try to access it with this key, it will take me to very specifically to that value which happened to be another dictionary. And what do you do if you want to further access into or access this content deeper? You know that a list has to be further accessed by positions or index, but this is a dictionary, what we have been learning so far. If you have to if this amount of syntax has taken you to a dictionary, I mean to another level of dictionary, then you can further access it by again a square brackets and give the corresponding key. So if I write fn, so this is taking me to a dictionary. In that there is another dictionary, so I am accessing further deep down by fn. You can see that I got the corresponding name. Got it? So to summarize, dictionary is nothing but it's a data structure in Python wherein you hold your data together in a more structured way in a key value pair. Different keys and values pair are separated by comma. The dictionary is started and ended by a curly brackets, and a dictionary can not only store the different key values which are just integer and strings, but the values can also be a list or dictionaries. Okay, so this hierarchy can go at any depth, which you will have to be very mindful how you access it uh, in a very specific manners. Make sense? Perfect. Thank you, everyone.